On April 5th, 1923, at exactly 1:55 a.m., a wealthy British lord took his last breath in a dark room at the Continental Hotel in Cairo, Egypt. At that precise microsecond, something inexplicable happened. The entire city of Cairo was plunged into total darkness. The power grid completely vanished without a trace. Thousands of miles away in England, the Lord's pet dog suddenly stood up, let out a piercing howl, and dropped dead on the spot. Science might call this a series of bizarre coincidences, but the public was absolutely terrified. Why? Because just a few months earlier, this very man had breached a sealed 3,000-year-old tomb. And carved outside that tomb was a chilling warning. Death shall come on swift wings to whoever disturbs the peace of the Pharaoh.
Over the next 6 years, 22 people connected to this excavation died mysterious deaths. Millionaires caught sudden, lethal fevers. Radiologists dropped dead. A secretary's elderly father even jumped from a 7th-floor window in London. Was the ancient spirit of a pharaoh actively hunting down those who desecrated his final resting place? Or was the world falling victim to the greatest media scam in human history? Today, we are pulling back the layers of sand to uncover the true, untold story behind the Curse of King Tut. To understand the tragedy, we have to travel back to November 1922. In the scorching heat of Egypt's Valley of the Kings, a British archaeologist named Howard Carter was desperate. Carter wasn't a wealthy, elite academic. He was the son of a poor animal painter, a sick kid who never even went to traditional school. His entire career was on the line, funded by Lord Carnarvon. For over 15 years, Carnarvon had poured £50,000 into Carter's search, equivalent to millions of dollars today, with absolutely nothing to show for it. Carnarvon had given Carter a brutal ultimatum. This is your final season. Find something now, or the money is gone forever. On November 4th, 1922, a strange silence fell over the dig site. A worker's shovel hit something hard beneath the debris. It was a step cut directly into the rock. Carter's heart raced. They dug frantically, exposing a steep staircase going 16 steps down into the earth. At the bottom stood a plastered door bearing the ancient royal seal. Carved into that plaster was a forgotten name: Tutankhamun.
On November 26th, Carter made a tiny hole in the door. He held up a candle to check for toxic gases. As hot air escaped, the candle flickered, and Carter peered into the darkness. Behind him, an impatient Lord Carnarvon asked, "Can you see anything?" Carter could barely breathe as he whispered back, "Yes, wonderful things." Inside was an archaeological gold mine, a solid gold coffin, weapons forged from meteorites, and thousands of priceless artifacts left exactly as they were 3,000 years ago. It was the greatest discovery in human history. But as the world celebrated, an unsettling darkness began to creep over the team. It started with a canary. Shortly after the tomb was opened, a cobra, the ancient symbol of Egyptian royalty, slithered into the cage and swallowed the bird whole. The local Egyptian workers grew pale. Then came the mosquito bite. In the spring of 1923, Lord Carnarvon was bitten on the cheek by an insect. A few days later, while shaving, he accidentally nicked the bite with his razor. In the sweltering Egyptian heat, the wound became horribly infected, spreading poison into his blood. He developed a raging pneumonia and died in that Cairo hotel room, right as the lights went out. The media went absolutely wild. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the brilliant creator of Sherlock Holmes, publicly announced that evil elementals created by ancient priests were responsible. Suddenly, every newspaper was printing bold, terrifying headlines about the curse of the pharaoh, and the bodies kept piling up. George J. Gould, an American tycoon, visited the tomb and died the next day. Sir Archibald Douglas Reed, the radiologist who x-rayed the mummy, passed away shortly after. Even Carter's personal secretary died of a sudden heart attack.
By 1929, 22 people were dead. But the ultimate shockwave hit the scientific community in 1925 during the official autopsy of King Tut's mummy. When Dr. Douglas Derry carefully examined the pharaoh's face, he discovered a distinct round scar on the mummy's cheek. It was located in the exact same spot, on the exact same cheek, where the mosquito had bitten Lord Carnarvon. But who was this pharaoh? And why was his tomb so completely untouched by grave robbers for 3 millennia? Tutankhamun ascended the throne when he was just an 8-year-old child, during a time of massive religious war. His father had tried to destroy Egypt's traditional gods. When his father died, the boy king was used as a puppet to restore order, changing his name to Tutankhamun, meaning the living image of Amun.
But his reign was tragically short. He died at just 18 or 19 years old. Generations of extreme inbreeding left the young king with severe genetic deformities. He suffered from a clubfoot. Those 130 walking sticks found in his tomb weren't decorative. He literally couldn't take a step without them. Weakened by severe malaria, a sudden leg fracture turned fatal. Because he was a weak, short-lived king, his successors completely erased his name from the royal monuments. He became a ghost in history. And that is the exact reason his grave survived. Now, let's look at the twist that completely shatters the curse. Remember that terrifying inscription on the tomb? Death shall come on swift wings. Experts have thoroughly reviewed every single diary and log. That clay tablet never existed. It was entirely made up by a journalist looking for a sensational headline.
What about the Cairo blackout? Historical records show that in the 1920s, Cairo's electrical grid was notoriously unstable. Power outages happened almost every week. In 2002, the British Medical Journal conducted a massive study tracking 44 Westerners. The result? There was absolutely no statistical difference. In fact, the average age of death was over 70 years old. There was, however, one real danger. Sealed ancient tombs can harbor a toxic fungus called Aspergillus niger. For someone like Lord Carnarvon, breathing in thousands of years of trapped fungal spores was fatal. But the ultimate proof that the curse is a myth lies with target number 1, Howard Carter. He is the man who broke the seals and pulled King Tut out of his coffin. Yet Carter lived for another 16 years. Ancient Egyptians believed that a person only truly dies when the living stop speaking their name. King Tut's enemies tried to erase him from existence, leaving him buried in total obscurity.
But 3,000 years later, the son of a poor painter pulled back the sand and gave this tragic teenage king a second life. Howard Carter didn't bring a curse. He brought immortality. If you loved this deep dive into history, make sure to hit that like button,
and subscribe. See you in the next one.